I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but a PB, your personal best and your personal record in your fitness, does not always show up on the scales. So it does not always show up on your watch, it doesn't always show up on your Garmin, it doesn't show up in your Strava, it doesn't show up in your lifts, right? It doesn't show up in the tangible reality. There's going to be some days, some weeks, some seasons of life even, where on the bigger picture, the biggest PB doesn't come from those tangible things. It comes from the intangible assets that you've built. And what am I talking about here? The first is resilience, okay? So when things are very, very easy, right? Life's going well, your relationships are good, business, your family, so on and so forth. And work isn't as hectic, right? It's easy. It's easy, right? But your resilience and your grit and your strength, your internal power doesn't get tested during those periods, right? It is just something to remember, guys, that when times are challenging and when you come across adversities, right? That's when you're truly building that strength and that power, right? Because the best things that happen to you come from some of the worst things that happen to you. I feel grateful for all the great times I've had because I feel grateful for all the shitty things that's happened, right? Or say it's during the rough periods in business, or during the times and the moments where I'm just doubting everything, not knowing when I'm going to make it or when my time is and whatever, right? And sometimes wondering whether I'm even cut out for whatever I decide to do, right? But it's only because you have that contrast that you're going to be able to look back and think, and realize, wow, right? Without those tough times, without those tough times, I wouldn't have that contrast and that perspective. Just keep that in mind and just remember that, right? So I don't know who needs to hear this, like I said, but your PBs won't always reflect on the scales, on the weights, right? In the gym room, it reflects in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, your body, and your spirit, right? Because that intangible asset is going to carry you through. It's going to turn you into the most resilient, strong, powerful version of yourself. And your PB in that moment, right, is the following. Okay, so I'll make the intangible tangible for you for a sec so you have some clarity here. It's the decisions you make, right, in spite of challenges, in spite of relationships, in spite of breakups, in spite of your job, in spite of whatever's happening in the economy or whatever's happening in your life situation and what's going on in the world and so on. Okay, I'm getting passionate about this because I really want this to nail home to you guys, and I'm coming at this from a place of self-love, and I hope that this gives you that clarity. Okay, the decision you make, right, whether you choose to back down and to quit, right, or to the best of your mental, emotional, perceived capabilities and your perceived efforts, right, keep putting one foot in front of the other. If you choose the former, right, you made that decision and you did not PB. If you chose the latter, which is as long as you just showed up and you stayed consistent, that is completely fine, right? You don't need, not every season is meant for breaking records and just smashing records. That's just fucking unrealistic, right? That's not sustainable, okay? You have dribs and drabbles, as an old fitness coach, an old mentor of mine used to say, right? You can have dribs and drabbles. That's what progress is going to look like. It's not one linear graph going up straight. It's not some exponential curve, right? It is a drib and drabble of an exponential trend, if you want to put it that way, right? Hope that makes sense. So, if you have a minimum success criteria, as long as you hit that minimum success criteria during the challenging periods, you've won. You're already a winner, right? You've always been a winner, right? And you're just going through what all winners go through, right? Which is a slower period, a rebuilding period, right? Almost like a phoenix period of just rebuilding and rising back from the ashes stronger and so forth, okay? That is how you move forward. And it's something that I believe it was, I cannot remember where I heard it from, but it's a great analogy for marathon running. And in the marathon world, it's not the person who can run the fastest, right? It's the person who can slow down the least, okay? So what that means is never quit, never stop. Remember why you started, right? and just give yourself grace and give yourself that loving kindness and that self-love during that time, right? And this is for those who if you're watching my stuff, right, then you're not someone who's average and you're not content with being mediocre. So there's already something inside you, like a fire inside you. Like, if you come across my content and you're content with average, right, then you've already been pissed off and you already like just flick to whatever fucking other thing in like 5 or 10 seconds, right? Because my stuff would have been spent too much for you and it's too intense. But the fact that you're watching shows that you're someone, right, who wants more out of life. And because you're someone who wants more out of life, I consider yourself a high performer, someone who's driven, someone who wants to become the strongest version of themselves, okay? And because of that, you have high standards for yourself, and sometimes you'll have high expectations of yourself, and sometimes those expectations may be in sync with what's reality manifesting and what's showing outward to you in your external results, in your life situation, and sometimes it's out of sync, right? Sometimes they're temporarily out of sync, and it's your job, and in those moments, it's not about forcing it into sync. You know, you cannot force the timing and the rhythm and everything into sync with yourself. It doesn't happen that way, okay? In those moments, the right thing to do is to keep showing up, right? Have that loving kindness and so forth. Now, if you are someone who's watching this and you have fallen off the bandwagon and you know you could be better, right? That's different, right? Then step the fuck up, right? And that's a bit different. You know what you need to do. This is for those who have been consistent, right? This is for those who need a bit of that momentum to build back and to build back stronger and to blast through their previous plateaus, right? Understand that what got you here won't get you to that next level, and the tools that you use during those times where it was easy or times where it was thriving, right, are going to be different than the ones that you'll be using now, okay? Different fundamental set of tools, different season, okay, different paradigms, and different emotional, psychological tools. And on that, it would also adapt into how you need to calibrate your training and your adjustments and so forth, right? Because you cannot train with the same intensity, the same rigor, right, and the same way that you did in a different phase that you do when you need to rebuild and you need to recover, okay? And that's not a step back. That is a slow down and that's a speed up. And that right there is the win. And winners, it's not about always outwardly looking like you're crushing it, right? Winners are always constantly winning when they know how to best respond, to the times where it's challenging, when there's adversity, right? Because that would be the telling time of what you choose to do and how you'll bounce back stronger, right? It's like that Warren Buffett thing, when the tides coming in, you'll see who's swimming naked, right? And swimming naked in this case here means that maybe you've been equipped with the tools when it was easy and it's easy to crush and so on, right? But it will clearly show who has the tools, right? Reviewing those tools, right? During the periods where it's not so much, right? And your choice of what you choose to do with that, right? Whether you quit and you back down, or you double down your why, but like you approach it with grace and you approach it smartly and strategically, and you will build back stronger, right? Determine your next path, your next trajectory. Best of wishes, lots of love from myself, lots of loving kindness. I hope you guys have an amazing Friday. This is something that I wanted to pop on because it was on my mind, right? Just working with a couple of folks, right? In the challenge, but also with folks on the consulting side of things, right, which I think would be helpful as a bit of a universal reminder, right, because it's that old adage where sometimes it's not about new information, because if you're watching this and likely you've gone through, a couple of self-help books or something, you've maybe gone through some courses, some events, maybe invested yourself in other coaching means. There's sometimes you need to be reminded more often than you need to be taught, right? Which I believe is like a whole emoji thing, but it's just so fucking true, right? You don't need more information, right? A lot of times it's that reminder so that we have clarity to recalibrate and to readjust and to be back on track. Hope that was helpful. Lots of love, and hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Take care.